What's happening? We're back for some more F1. Guys, if you're new to this channel, what I do is I look at all different types of people's communication skills and I give you my thoughts. Today we're gonna be checking out Daniel Ricciardo. Seems like a friendly guy. There's obviously a reason why this dude's very popular and I've seen him all over YouTube. So this will be like my first real deep dive into Daniel. Let's get started.
For the first time in 2020, I feel old.
Old or experienced?
Experience. Let's say experience. It sounds better.
It does, but I mean, you can't buy experience. How different do you feel now to that kid? You were a kid when you entered the sport 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was. I feel very different.
He definitely doesn't seem to take himself too seriously, which is quite the contrast from some of the other drivers that I've seen who seem to have a pretty serious, intense approach to everyday interviews like this. And he just seems light and self-deprecating.
Yeah, I feel old.
On top of that, he's definitely got a contagious smile. I can see a lot of people liking him and being charmed by him. He just seems genuinely happy. There's something called mirror neurons. If you've been on my channel before, you've heard me talk about this, but we mirror the neurons in other people's brains. And as a result, we take on their mood. And I can see that with Daniel. He's got a really contagious energy.
I mean, I was still intimidated by the sport, you know, so I'd done enough to achieve a seat in the sport by 2011.
Quite a big surprise. I didn't expect to be racing Formula One this year, but yeah, it's a huge opportunity for me and still a bit of a shock.
Very cool, humble guy, it seems like. There was no sort of inkling of him taking any of this for granted. That's what it feels like with him.
You know, I was intimidated. I was overwhelmed by it. You know, I put F1 on a pedestal, and you know, even when it came to other drivers, you know, I looked up to them still. You know, I didn't see them yet as competitors. I saw them as like heroes, and I had to, you know.
Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of him, but almost feels like, at least in the beginning of his career, he sort of had this imposter syndrome.
I was intimidated. I was overwhelmed by it. You know, I put F1 on a pedestal.
I love how he's opening up and being honest about his fears, and I love that sort of vulnerability from an athlete. Like, that only is going to draw us closer to him and make us want to listen to him more and trust him more.
I think I was just excited more than anything, and I guess grateful to have that opportunity, even if it wasn't, you know.
I believe him. That's what it feels like. He's grateful. Humble dude.
So from 2014 onwards, you know, I'm certainly not surprised. If anything, I'm a little bit probably underwhelmed. But yeah, in 2011, to put myself here now and to know maybe the impact I've had in the sport and where I've put myself, then for sure I'm happy and proud. But I'm certainly not there yet and not done.
We talk about communication on this channel. We talk about having people listen to us. And I think a big part of that is likability. Right? If someone doesn't like you or trust you, it's going to be really hard to get your message across. And with a guy like Daniel, it just feels like he has so much likability. And I think it's because he just seems like such a good-natured person. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I think oftentimes we're drawn to people who are just a little lighter. And he's honest and humble. And also it seems grateful for the position that he's in.
Years ago, it was quite difficult to, you know, let your personality shine. You know, I always felt F1 was a very kind of rigid, business-like format where you just rock up to work and nod your head and do your job and that's it. To be able to have brought some charisma into the sport. I mean, even I look back, you know, things like the shoey, like that's, at the time I was like, I'm an idiot for doing this.
Cool that he's able to sort of bring his authentic self and personality into the sport. It sounds like he wouldn't have the success he had or continues to have. I don't know what his level of success is right now, if he didn't maintain that fun attitude. I think there's something to learn from that. If you're restricting yourself from being who you are, it's going to be hard for you to thrive, I think, in whatever it is that you're doing. So I think Daniel is probably an inspiring guy in a lot of ways to a lot of people because they look at him as this guy who they can really relate to. But he's also at the highest level in his sport.
They did allow ourselves to express ourselves, you know, they did allow us to be us. And I think that was, yeah, them as a brand, you know, what they entered the sport to be unique. And
yeah, he's just such a normal seeming bloke.
So I certainly, you know, owe it to them as well for letting me feel comfortable being myself.
I love it, and just watching that is inspiring too for a lot of people, I'm sure. You look at a guy like Daniel, and he just feels like he's kind of your buddy. He could be one of your buddies.
I would say 20% of that character remains in the car, but the other 80% is a very serious, I guess, driven character.
I mean, you'd have to be to get to this level, right?
Even still now, I think people still take me. On track, not so much, but off track, I think they can still play around. But I know what I'm capable of. Like, even now I'm smiling, but I'm like, I'm quietly killing with a smile. Like, it's good.
And again,
yeah, no, he's an assassin. And maybe that was a source of motivation for him. Like, don't mistake me as like the smiling, nice guy.
I'm quietly killing with a smile. Like,
who is going to be pushed over here. It's like, let me prove these mother wrong.
Your personal life, that side of your life, remains very, very much yours. You know, you don't let that out at all. Was that a conscious thing, or because you're so open, do people just not ask? Because they're like, well, he's so open, if we wanted to talk.
You know, he's a really fascinating guy. I was thinking for a second, is this guy like sort of a sociopath over here?
Smiling, but I'm like, I'm quietly killing with a smile.
I don't think that's the case, but he's a really interesting guy in the sense that he's this really jovial, friendly, personable, fun guy. And I believe that's a real part of him. But then he's obviously got this cerebral competitiveness to him. He has to. And he does, this ruthlessness in a way. So just like the juxtaposition between those two personas and characters is very intriguing. It's very interesting. And it would be really cool to take a deep dive into his psychology when he's kind of getting into that competitive zone.
I still carry this easygoing demeanor in my everyday life. And am I like smiling pretty much all the time? I'd say so. Yeah. So like the smile is never fake, or like that's certainly real. And I mean, I'll look at baby photos of me and I'm always the kid you can see the most teeth. Like that was just...
He's a happy dude, man. Can't hate on that. He's a happy dude, and I think he's got a lot of happiness to spread. All power to Daniel Ricciardo. And another thing about Daniel, and I've seen this with a bunch of the drivers so far, they know themselves, from their personalities to their strengths to their weaknesses. There's just a level of self-awareness there that allows them to express a certain amount of vulnerability that allows us to relate with them.
And this sounds like it's going deeper than it is, but in general, like I put a lot of trust in people. Like I try and see the best in someone as opposed to what's their agenda. And I still want to do that because I think everyone, you know, like you meet someone, you want to be excited to meet someone. You don't want to be like, what's your angle?
Yeah.
Just
being a bit more aware of, okay, is this genuine? Do they want to, let's say, work with me?
I like that. I like that approach. Very smart. And that's the thing with Daniel. He doesn't have his guard up. He just said it.
I put a lot of trust in people. Like I try and see the best in someone.
Ultimately, that's why I think a lot of people probably feel connected to him and trust him and listen to him, is because you don't get the sense that he has his guard up at all. He lets you in.
I don't really look back and say, oh, I should have done that deal then. You know, I shouldn't have been so this or that. Like, pretty happy. If my career ended today, am I disappointed I don't have a world title? Yes. But could I have actually done anything to change that over that 10 years? Probably not.
I think out of all the guys I watch, this is who I'm cheering for. I'd love to see him win. That would be so cool. Anyway, really enjoyed watching that Daniel Ricciardo interview. I hope you did as well. If you want to watch my uncut reaction, all you need to do is go to my Patreon page. I've included the link in my description below. Other than that, my name is Max. I appreciate you being here. I will catch you soon. Peace.